Hi, everybody. Welcome to Tuesday. I don't look as wiped out as I feel right now. It was a long weekend doing boss fight stuff, so I am punchy. I normally don't drink coffee at all anymore. I drink tea, but the last 3 days it's been coffee. Glug 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 glug. And I am very shiny because I have like almost no makeup on. So this is me unvarnished in more ways than one. Before I forget, Twitch tonight playing Nier Automata again. The viewers assure me it gets better. I did not like my last play session of Nier Automata. It made me angry, and I really do not like the controls right now. I did get to ride a moose, though, and that was fun. So far, the upsides of Nier Automata are you can run around with no pants. Good. And you can ride a moose. Good. Downsides, there are so many mechanics I just do not like. But tune in on tonight, or Tuesday or Thursday, depending on when you're watching this, to see if it gets better. I am withholding judgment on this game. If you want more stuff connected to Boss Fight, those of you who are Kickstarter backers or patron knows the activity and communication has gone way up. If you haven't been getting notifications, check your spam filter. Go log into the Kickstarter. Check out the updates. There are some very, very important updates there. If you are a backer, patrons, you're getting it through Patreon. Speaking of patrons, help support this channel. Become a monthly patron. Patreon.com/LeannaK. Patrons and Kickstarter backers are going to get 2 separate updates and previews this week. So if you are both a patron and a Kickstarter backer, and there are quite a few of you out there that did that, you will get double the fun this week. So, as promised yesterday, God, that seems so long ago. Last of Us 2 stuff. This story keeps getting, I don't even know the word for it anymore. Bizarre doesn't cut it. I do have to give credit for Kotaku for this time putting out a properly sourced story. So they didn't just take tweets, didn't just do that stuff. Didn't just say this person say they actually found a second source to confirm some of the information here. To recap, if you haven't seen a video before, major parts of The Last of Us 2 were leaked online. Not going to talk about that. By the way, I may disable comments on this video just so people can't post spoilers in the comments. Might. Not sure. We'll see how it goes. So, original rumor was disgruntled former or current employee. Then a story came out that it was because of COVID and people not getting paid because of COVID, which the logic of that one was a little loopy. Said so. Then Sony and Naughty Dog came out and released this statement that said the leaks were not from people affiliated with Naughty Dog or Sony. And that's when my little reporter hat went, what's going on here? Is this another hack? And that's where we are. Because that's the only way an unaffiliated person, and people started saying, it was a spouse of an employee who got on their computer that wasn't password protected, all that stuff. I was like, no. It's apparently a hack. And this has been confirmed by multiple sources, including one with the absolutely fantastic online name of Pixel Butts. I love that name. But there was some good reporting by Stephen Totilo in Kotaku. So let's have a look at that. Come on. Sorry, I've got so many freaking... There we go. Okay, so there we go. Alrighty. So last week it's shocking leak, whatever. Details of the apparent hack were first shared on Twitter late Saturday night. There's Pixel Butts. Pixel Butts, and then he contacted them through direct message, declined to share his real name. Normally, you're like, can't confirm, but in this case, this sort of thing, you kind of understand it. It's not best practice, but it's all right considering the source. So this is what happened, okay? And if you, here's me going, this is because I find this so frustrating. He described a sequence of events that started in January. That's when he says a hacker group discovered a method for accessing the Amazon servers for Naughty Dog games using what was essentially password information included in the code for the studio's games, including 2011's Uncharted 3 and 2013's The Last of Us. Those games access to the servers for multiplayer functionality, but apparently could also be used to fetch files stored there. So that implies that Naughty Dog, big budget, first party game studio, hasn't changed a password since 2011 with sensitive files on it? Moving on. Okay. So the UC key got them UC Uncharted 3 development material, and Uncharted 2's key did the same, but there was some The Last of Us content mixed into the Uncharted 3 server. Wow. Okay. It wasn't too much of a stretch to think The Last of Us 1 server would have The Last of Us 2 material. By March, the group... Why are they showing furries? Okay, this is a nice extra. Okay. By March, he said the group grabbed at least 1 terabyte of data from the part of the server associated with The Last of Us. Okay. Timeline tracks with the leaks of the anticipated upcoming... pivotal plot point, whatever. Development code. Identified the footage as being from an April 1 build of the game. So, fairly close. Fairly complete. Well, the leak also blah, 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 blah. This is the part where I went, you're shitting me, okay? Pixel Butts claims to have notified Naughty Dog of the security flaw in February, and also says that he neither participated in the hack nor has obtained any of the materials that leaked. February, folks. Footage that leaked was an April 1 build of the game. Naughty Dog was informed in February. This isn't just sloppy. This is negligent, okay? I get everybody's very busy. I get it's like shit hit the fan scramble time. But when somebody tells you that somebody has access to stuff you can't afford people to have access to, you listen. You know, you don't have to panic, but at least take them seriously that they might be telling you the truth. 'Cause come on, how hard is it to change a password? Yeah, it's inconvenient. However, better inconvenient than hacked, right? Right. Okay, now, of course, here we go. He told Kotaku today that the key to access the Amazon servers was changed on or before April 30th, closing off the apparent hold that allowed for the leak. Okay, so this is so typical of big companies with a lot of money to throw around. They don't solve the problem when they're originally told there's the problem. They solve the problem when something bad has already happened. Now, there are reasons for this. I've been there. When you try to prevent something catastrophic at a company like this, you're a pain in the ass. When you try to jump in and scramble to do damage control after a major problem has already happened, then you're a big hero. But nobody ever gets rewarded for preventing a problem. And this actually ties in some to sort of the cancel culture stuff that people said about Naughty Dog, all the discussion that these leaks precipitated. Precipitated? Is that the right word? I don't know. Tired. But this is the thing. When you've got a company where people won't speak up, this is what you get, right? And I'm not saying this to take that, Naughty Dog, you had it coming. Sorry about the noises, guys. I'm saying this because this is for anybody out there. This is why you have to have healthy conflict in your company. This is why people can't feel like if they say something politically incorrect or annoying, they're gonna get fired. You've got to effectively manage your people so people can bring this stuff to your attention. Stuff like this, your community coordinators, you want them on this. You want them to be able to bring this to you going, oh, by the way, there might be a vulnerability in the Amazon server with all your important stuff on it. Okay? So, just saying. So Jason Schreier confirms it was a hack, citing two people direct knowledge of it. Okay, maybe Jason Schreier did the good reporting, not Totilo at Kotaku. That might make more sense. Pixelbutt doesn't believe that the group of hackers who discovered the exploit in January perpetuated the leak of Naughty Dog's Last of Us 2 material. So, to recap, now at least two hacker groups knew about this vulnerability. Since February, since Uncharted 3, apparently. I don't know when they found out, but Naughty Dog was apparently notified of it in February. Two different groups had access to this exploit. It's not even really an exploit, it's a freaking password. But February, April 1st build. February, March, April. Okay, April 1st. So, I'll be kind and say a month. They had a month to do something about this. Again, it's a problem that anybody who goes in and looks at the code of Uncharted 3 will find. Okay? We following the sloppiness here? Sorry, I turned off the audio there. That was well timed, though, that one. Leak occurred a week ago, led to rumors of the action. This is all just a recap. Led to rumors that it was the actions of a disgruntled employee, perhaps when angered by the studio's controversial crunch culture. Notice it's now a rumor when before it was just breathless reporting. Those rumors soon were followed by... those rumors soon were reported as fact by some gaming news outlets and across forums and social media, but it doesn't seem that the leak ever included that claim. Interesting. I, for the record, said if true. The leak managed to ruin a lot of plot points. La, 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 la. We're not going to talk about this. It also clearly infuriated developers at Naughty Dog who had managed for years to keep the secret details of their characters. La, 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 la. Individual devs, maybe. I'm not so sure it was that great a secret, but, I can't confirm. I talked to a few people that the rank and file at Naughty Dog are extremely upset by this. And I will say everybody feels very badly for them. And I just want to say, one person said, oh, that's a breach of journalistic ethics to feel badly for a studio when this happens. I disagree with that. It makes you a better reporter if you're able to report the facts with empathy. I think we can all understand how, you work for something under possibly pretty crappy conditions for years. And then, the cool part when the game's out, and so you can finally talk about it with some people, and people can tell you, at least some people will tell you they liked the game. That's not going to be what it could have been, though I think it might have done them a favor, but we're not talking about that sort of thing here. And then okay, so I love that the hacker guy Pixelbutts tells the gaming media what they should already have known. This is absolutely true. What Pixelbutts wrote on Twitter today. Don't believe what sounds like the juiciest story, even if it's what you want to hear. Sometimes it's really that boring. Hacker man exploiting a vulnerability created by the company's own games to gain internal access. I think that's actually kind of a juicy story. But they're right. They're right. More Games Media should realize that it's more important to report the correct story than the juiciest story. Now, that's not how it works in an industry driven by clickbait and just content churn. We know this. But then Kotaku gives Naughty Dog an out. And this is a part where I'm like, oh, so close. But if Naughty Dog had detected any intrusions in recent weeks, you mean February? Certainly the rush to finish the game and the stress of shifting to working from home due to COVID-19 would have left the team in the worst position to stop it. And if they managed to plug that hole by April 30th, they simply got to it too late. Okay, that doesn't... February. Okay? February. Stuff wasn't shutting down in February. It wasn't. So that's not an excuse. And it's a remote Amazon server. People can change the passwords from anywhere on those things. People can access them from anywhere. That's I don't buy that part. I can say I feel utterly awful for the rank and file at Naughty Dog. And also think, no, this was sloppy by the higher-ups. Very, very sloppy. Now, there's one more element to this that I found interesting. And I stumbled upon this by chance, just sort of Googling to see what was coming up. Neil Druckmann released a video fairly recently that the game has gone gold. I think it was actually today he put it out. The gone gold does not mean a sales figure. It means it's past a milestone in the Sony approval process, meaning the discs for the games could be completed. Here's the problem with this. The last report on the last delay for The Last of Us 2 said that The Last of Us 2 was going to be delayed due to a work stoppage at the manufacturing facility due to COVID-19. How was that the reason for the delay if the game hadn't been certified gold yet? They can't make the discs until the game's gone through that process. It sounds like Sony was trying to let Naughty Dog save face there, which is Sony's way. And this brings me to kind of the main thing of whether it's true or not. This is something that all studios should keep in mind, okay? Everybody ends up late sometimes. Scope creep is real, and I do think it's the correct choice, especially in a video game where it's very hard to predict sometimes what challenges you're going to find along the way. General consensus is better good than fast. We have learned our lesson for punishing developers too much for having to push because we ended up with a lot of crappy broken games. So most players are very, very understanding when a development team needs to push. But Naughty Dog has a habit now of not delaying once, but twice. I'm a producer by background, okay? When you do this, when you're a producer, your job is to go, okay, guys, we've had to push twice now, 3 times now. We need to add 6 months onto our development. We can't do it in this time. This is not our way. And Sony likes money. So at this point, Sony will go, yep, right, better to plan ahead. Sony plays long ball. right? They're a long range thinking company. They are not a quarter to quarter company. Okay. I don't know about the California studios, but I know the main company, they play the long game on their electronics, on everything. Okay. So, like, yeah, an extra 6 months and these problems stop. Okay. If the game hadn't been profoundly delayed, this leak would not have happened because the game would have been out when it was supposed to be out. There is no benefit to knowing Naughty Dog takes a long time to make games and keeping them on a conventional development cycle. They need to be given more time. Whatever Druckmann says he needs to make the game, add 6 months, add 9 months, for God's sakes. Because if he knows he has 6 months, he's going to take 9. Some creatives are like that. The work fills the available space, and they're always late no matter what. And in that point, you actually, this is awful, but your senior producer, the number 2, number 3 person, actually has to start lying to everybody about when you really need something, because false deadlines make for good teams. Everybody likes it when you tell them something, it's still reasonable deadline, but you tell them something has to be done a week earlier than it really needs to be done, and they don't do it. It's like, yeah, no problem, take 3 days. And then when they take 5, you're still on time. That's how it works. And this is not just true. This is not just true of Naughty Dog. This is a truism of the industry. The problem, and I'm going to tell you this because I want to be fair to Naughty Dog here. This isn't how Sony functions as a company, but like I said, I don't know how their California entertainment offices work. They may have that entertainment industry disease of they push people to promise the impossible just so they can go to their superiors and they say it'll be ready by now. And then when it's not ready by now, instead of you getting in trouble for accepting something you knew wasn't reasonable, oh no, it's them. They're just unreliable. They're lazy. They're like a flaky creative. Unfortunately, this is how it works. A better run company goes, when do you think it'll be done? 2 years. No, man, you got a 3-year cycle. Come on. HBO does that. Look at how well they're doing with shows like Westworld. AMC with the Breaking Bad universe shows. It's ready when it's ready, and they reap the benefits. Like, yeah, balance sheet to balance sheet, not always reliable, but the cultural impact of these entertainment products is so important, and you can't do that if you're burning your creatives out. Now, I'm not saying that's happening here. I'm just saying these are possibilities. Okay? There are ways to run studios better and less better. There are ways to motivate creatives and employees better and less better. And the only way to know what works and what doesn't for different types of people is experience. Because let me tell you, the business schools do not teach this stuff. The business schools have gotten better, but you're not producing widgets here, okay? You're not producing stuff. You're producing ideas as much as anything. And sure, you've got big defense companies and things like that. Their IP, they're creating these crazy things. They don't know if they're going to work or not when they're developing it. You hear how, cost prohibitive vaccine, like drug research is, which is why they're crazy expensive when they come out. Every business has an element of risk. Entertainment's just uniquely glitchy in this regard. There are certain things that are just really, really, really difficult to predict. And with console gaming especially, late in a cycle or early in a cycle, there are timelines and information and all that stuff that the studio is not totally in control of. So I'm really glad that gamers are patient about games being delayed. The problem is, if a game's delayed, does the studio still have the money to finish the game? Now, in the case of a first-party studio like Naughty Dog that is owned by Sony, yes, absolutely. You know, in a wholly owned, like, independent developing studio that just has a development deal, like a publishing deal with these console companies, they do not have that same luxury. If they are late, they have to secure financing so they can continue to pay people in that intervening time they didn't plan for, which is why it's all the more important to know how long it's actually going to take you to make your game, because then you calculate salaries and figure out your burn rate and all that stuff. And that's exactly what people don't want to do, because then you have to go in with a budget that's higher. And these guys who still remember what it's like to be, you know, young, hungry, and scared out of your mind are afraid to go in too high. And so the studio says no. You know, the publisher says no. Too much money. And sometimes you go in and say, we want this, and they say, do it in this anyway. It's not a good way to create ideal products. And the reason I find this so frustrating is that gaming is not like movies in that, you know, nobody's making $20 million to star in a video game, right? Pretty much everybody gets paid going market rate scale kind of thing, because it's voice and motion capture and all that stuff. It doesn't work the same way as a big Hollywood blockbuster. So costs are predictable. And so, you know, you don't have that, oh, wow, we have to find another $10 million so we can afford Tom Cruise or something like that, right? You know mostly what your game is going to cost when you go in and you look at the number, and it's just like, it's eye-popping, right? It's so much time and it's so much money, and you feel a little sick no matter how many times you've done it. This is true for any media budget. But it's something you have to be extremely honest about, because you don't want the wheels coming off the bus at the end of your process. And one way or another, I think we can certainly say that the wheels came off the bus here at the end of Naughty Dog's process, right? Hacks, bad. Hacks like this, inexcusable. This is, to me, worse than a disgruntled employee. And I'll close by telling you why. Sometimes, cat commercial. Hi, Scouty. There we are. Scout, sit here for the wisdom, okay? Yeah. Sometimes, no matter how good you treat somebody, it doesn't work out. And sometimes, no matter how reasonable you are, a person leaves angry. There's sometimes nothing you can do. Someone can suddenly develop a mental illness that's partially genetic and not connected to anything you did. And they go and they get super angry and they do awful things and they tell people awful things about you, and none of it's true. None of it's fair. There's nothing you can do about that. Having the same password since 2013, that's something you can do something about. Usually in those big companies, they force you to change the passwords for precisely this reason. It's so weird. And honestly, last thought, even with video editing and like my writing work and my consulting work, every project has its own file, because media management is real. If they're dumping like Last of Us stuff into Uncharted 3 stuff and Last of Us 2 stuff into Last of Us 1 stuff, how does anybody find anything? How do you know where to go to look for what you're looking for when you need it? How do new people know where to access the stuff they need to do? You're talking about a company with a 70% turnover rate. Can you imagine going to a company and where's the stuff for Last of Us 2? Oh, it's in the Uncharted 3 folder, but that was 3 games ago. Yeah. My producer brain is going, it's like Edward Monk's The Scream. I could just, I know art is sometimes chaos, but this is ridiculous. Okay, I'll wrap it here. Interested to see your comments? Might have to be on Twitter. We might have to find a unique way to do comments here, because people like to wreck these things by posting things in comments they shouldn't. So we'll hope, but if I see any of that, I'm shutting them down again. Fair warning. Help support this channel, become a monthly patron, patreon.com/LeannaK. Thanks for watching.